This kind of winds up, I guess, the speaking club tour circuit.
Yeah.
Just how has the overall reaction been? I've only done 5 or 6 of these, but overall throughout the state, how's it been?
Yeah, it's been awesome. This is number 6. Gotten all over the state, and then Charlotte, obviously. It's been great. Obviously, coming off the way we finished the season with the last 2 regular season wins, and then the success we had with other wins throughout the season. There's a lot of excitement, and it's great to be able to get out and hear that from so many fans wherever we've been. And all these events have had a bunch of energy and a bunch of excitement and a bunch of expectations, and it's great to be around so many of these great Gamecocks throughout the state.
Yeah, a lot of PD kids, on the roster this year, led by Linares from Florence. Yeah. How much you going to talk about him and all the other guys?
Yeah,
tonight?
No, we'll talk about him. Obviously, from being right here in Florence, it's great, to have him and so many, young men from this area. So we always want to start. With our recruiting in the state of South Carolina, and there's great players in this area and great players throughout the state of South Carolina. So the more we can get on our team, the better.
Shane, obviously you got spring meetings next week. I guess just anything new as far as where you guys feel like you're at on the scheduling and 8 games, 9 games, who the 3 teams might be?
No, and I'm not trying to dodge the question. We haven't discussed it at all, to be honest with you. We last time we met as head coaches was in February in Birmingham, and we haven't met again in person since then. We haven't had any Zooms since then, and probably about as much as I do. I haven't had any conversations with Coach Tanner about it either, so I'm sure it'll be a big topic of discussion down there in Destin next week, along with a lot of other things, but nothing new to report.
Shane, when do you go down there? Does it start Tuesday?
I go Tuesday morning,
okay.
Yeah.
Will they do football like right early?
Yeah, so I get there Tuesday morning. I'm not sure the schedule for everybody else, but I get there Tuesday morning, get to meet with you guys that'll be there in attendance first thing. I think that's at maybe 12 o'clock on Tuesday, and then we have our first head coaches meeting at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, and then we go all day Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning, a little bit of Wednesday afternoon.
If you're at liberty to say, what are some of those other topics that will pop up besides the scheduling format?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen an agenda. I'm guessing, obviously, transfer portal will be a topic of discussion. NIL, will be a topic of discussion, I'm sure. Scheduling, obviously, there's usually a pretty in-depth conversation about new rules in college football and maybe things that are coming down the road that are up for discussion from a rules standpoint. So it's there's not a lot of wasted moment. There's an agenda, and it's one thing to the next, but it's it's a great time to get around other coaches in this league and administrators and kind of come together as a conference.
Are you able to talk about your latest edge transfer from Syracuse? Didn't know if you had the pictures
Yes,
yet. Okay.
no, I have.
Skier.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, excited about him. Has had a productive year. Last year for Syracuse, and somebody that's from the state of South Carolina. So it's important to be able to get a South Carolinian back on our roster, especially one that's as productive as he is, and especially one that's at a position of need like he is. So he'll help us to provide depth in that room and pass rush ability and size, and it's good to get a guy in here that's hungry but has also played a lot of football.
Could you pronounce his first name for us?
I call him Jatius. Now I've heard Jatius and I've heard Jatius, but I believe it's Jatius. Yep.
How valuable is it to get a guy like him that has not just 1 year remaining, like he's a multi-year guy that you get to coach for? I guess he has 3 seasons of eligibility.
Yeah, no, it's great, and nothing against the guys that you bring in that just have 1 year, but certainly when you can get a guy in here and then know he's going to be with you for a while, it's huge. It's almost like bringing in a redshirt freshman from somewhere, not even a redshirt, but a freshman from somewhere that you've got a chance to develop, but it's also somebody that's played a lot of football. So we've got some other guys like that in our program. Obviously Spencer coming back for another year, and we've got some guys that have transferred that have already had productive years for us last year that are here this year that technically have another year next year if they wanted it as well. So it's a fantastic benefit.
Coach, one of the question is, you got a bunch of players from the PD, Sanders, Hemingway, Leggett, and I guess Walters from Myrtle Beach. How important is it to recruit this area?
Yeah, it's really important. We always, from a recruiting standpoint, we always want to start right here in the state of South Carolina, and I know what great football there is here. There's great tradition in this area, great high school coaching. So certainly when we're able to get young men from this area and the state of South Carolina on our team, we feel like it definitely makes our program better.
With Weezy and his role as a football ops guy, How much has that position evolved in your time being around college football from, I guess, when you were a kid?
A lot, you know, a lot. You know, early on, you usually just had one guy that kind of did everything, but everything was honestly really just travel, team travel, and not a whole lot else. And, you know, those positions are critical. My dad had the same guy for 29 years at Virginia Tech, and was invaluable, you know, to my dad. And then I've seen that position grow. You know, I've been at other schools where you had 5 people that did the job of what Weezy does by himself, or not by himself, but, you know, 5 people that do the job, and we have one along with, you know, Kim Fields and Caroline Rakovich that works in our office. They're great as well in operations, but it's grown. It's just so much of they handle everything. They really do. And I know when I got the job here, I mean, I had parents that called me that I had my first conversation ever with certain parents when I got the job here at Carolina. It was, great coach, glad you're here. Whatever you do, please keep Weezy. And they were serious. I mean, just because he does a great job with the parents, he does a great job with our players, and that ops position has grown in a lot of ways since I got into coaching.
You don't have to wrangle him back from the golf course too frequently, or
he does a good job of getting his work in and then getting out and being able to play as well. So I don't have to worry about him not getting done. He's available 24/7, and he's on top of it, and I'm glad that he has golf as an outlet, and he's really good at it too. So he needs to have that outlet.
best in the building, or is that a title for somebody else?
I think he's probably the best in the building. I've only played with him once, but we don't have as many golfers in the building as I would like, you know, as you would like to have. But he would be tough to beat. I know that.
Shane, obviously you got Nick Harbour coming in and a bunch of other freshmen, but with a guy like Nick transitioning from defensive end to receiver, kind of the finer points of that, what goes into actually helping a guy like that transition to receiver full time? I guess what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, we're fortunate that he did that a little bit. Obviously in high school, it's not like he's never caught the ball or run a route or played receiver before, so he's got a baseline from that standpoint. He's got obviously great athletic ability and instinct, so that helps. That's what you can't coach. But then, I just think the fact that the summertime, he'll get there in June and have almost 2 months of development before we actually start practice. And Justin Stepp and our offensive coaches will be able to, really work with him individually and directly from a not mental and physical standpoint, getting ready for practice, which is something that we weren't able to do, in recent years. So between all of that, get him out there. And again, we never want to do anything with a player that he can't do. But Nick is really, athletic and instinctive, and he'll be fine making that transition.
At running back, are there any guys on the roster currently that could get a look there, or get incoming guys that could possibly?
No, I think that's certainly a position where you got to be creative and being able to get the ball in different people's hands, and certainly you can generate runs with different people. We did it last year, handing jet sweeps to Juice or little jet sweeps to AB or Leggett or whoever it might be. You could throw a bubble screen out there on the perimeter. In a lot of ways, that's like a run as well. But there's no question we need more depth at the running back position. We've got to be able to line up and run the ball downhill, and without a doubt. I'm not as worried about the running back position as maybe the outside narrative is, that how are we going to field a team because we don't have a fifth scholarship running back. We'll be fine. Do I wish we had more? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not like we were sitting there and it's Armageddon in our building because we didn't get a transfer running back. We'll be fine. But certainly when I say that, it's other players on the team have to be able to help us generate some runs, whether it be some of the Wildcat quarterback stuff we did with DK last year or other players on the team. But as far as, discussions with anybody else on the team that we've had currently, no. Are there some incoming freshmen coming in that, have experience with the ball in their hands from playing different positions? Sure. And I think you got to just, keep your options open and kind of evaluate guys when they get there and see what they can do.
Shane, just one more on Nick. I mean, obviously he was a guy that didn't use all of his official visits, but you guys did get him obviously on campus before that, and then for Zoe. I guess just What do you remember about being able to bring him in for an OV and sort of what that weekend looked like and what that meant as well?
Yeah, I think every time you would hope that every time you get a prospect on campus, they feel better and better about what who you are. And I guess he came down the first summer that I got hired as the head coach. So was that summer 2021? He came down with his high school coach and remember that obviously being a big deal and him having a good time. And then last summer he was at our that cookout we did in July right before we started practice. So it was the last Friday in July. We did that cookout in the stadium, and he had a great time at that and felt good about things from that standpoint because of the relationship that he had with other recruits that night. Pup was there that night. Pup was there that night. And then a lot of other committed guys were there that night that ended up signing with us. And then when he decides to use one of his official visits on you, you feel pretty good about things. Now, he came to the Georgia game, so you don't feel good about that. But he had a great experience, and, credit to him that he was able to watch our performance that day but still feel that this was the place he wanted to be. And we lost to Georgia, and I remember going to dinner with him that night and just feeling not better about the loss, but just feeling, okay, this is the right kind of young man. And he knows what's important, and he's still having a really good experience here on this visit and understands what we're building here at Carolina as well. So, it was huge to get him on an official. And he was at my house on that Friday. He came over for lunch the day before the Georgia game and then had a great time with his teammates, future teammates, and other recruits. And we had a lot of recruits at that game that did a great job helping recruit him as well. And that, resonated in the end because of the relationship. In the end, he ended up deciding to come to Carolina. In the end, he decided to come to Carolina. Sorry, I can't talk. Because, relationships with the coaches and then relationships with the other recruits and then relationships with players on our current team as well that he bonded with.
Where'd you all to dinner that Saturday?
Halls. Yeah. So, got a great meal. That's about the only positive thing that day.
One thing I've always wondered about the operations guys, when they book, do they get all the Marriott and everything?
I've wondered that too. No,
That's the side.
I've had the same question as well. Because I've been in Marriott hotels, David, and I'm like, can I go down there right now and give them my Marriott number and get points even though I'm staying here for free? I thought the same thing. But it's I think so. And then we fly Delta. So do they get Delta Sky Miles too for booking for all those people? I think there's some pretty good kickbacks for some of those guys, the ones that have been in it long enough. They're not dumb.